Oh, hey, everybody. I see that I'm having some technical difficulties, guys, and I hope everything is me out. All right, let's try this again. Hi, guys. I hope everyone's okay. I've had some technical difficulties this morning with getting on, so I'm going to try to readjust and get things going. I had to restart my computer a couple times, so let me see if I my PowerPoint up, and if not, I'm just going to have to wing it because this is the life of virtual reality. Sometimes things work out for you and sometimes they don't. But I thank you guys so much for being here with me today. And today's day is what? It's a new day of God's grace and His mercy. And even though things are thrown at us, we sometimes have to just breathe right on through it and keep going. So I would say today is definitely a great day of when you're trying to get things going and other things happen. You just got to be ready for it. That's the way life is. You don't stop, you just keep believing that things will work out and it will happen according to the way that God designs and plans it. I'm trying to get my PowerPoint up and it's not allowing me to open it right now. So I'm going to try to do it a different way, guys. We're going to get through this together because this is just how it happens. So, all right, guys. I had such a beautiful PowerPoint. You guys know me. Waiting for you guys. And what I think I might have to do is just go from memory. Oh, I'm not always good at going from memory. That's why I like to have a PowerPoint because it keeps me concise and it keeps me on cue, as they say. But oh gosh, I had so many great things that I was just prepared for because I was so excited. You know, when God gives me things, He just does it. And it's just so nice to get those revelations from Him. And you're just like, oh, okay. Okay. I didn't even think about it like this, God. But sometimes that's just how He is. He will allow you to do things in a way that's new to even yourself. And so I get excited when I get those revelations from Him. And so, you just got to sometimes just not even worry about anything else and just say, okay, God, you got this thing. And I'm going to believe wholeheartedly in you on this. So I am excited because it was just one of those things where you're just like, whoa, this is this is awesome. And I love because I actually had a different topic. And I love that when I was speaking with Taffany Nolan Williams, she was like, do you have a problem can we change it a little bit, tweak it and changing it? And I'm like, no, not at all, because I love to be challenged. And to even go into the topic that she chose, setting your vision in alignment with your purpose, I was like, oh, okay. Because I was just thinking about just, going into your purpose. And she was like, no, setting your vision in alignment with your purpose. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this. So I was excited to be able to challenge myself and even change some of what I was doing. So without further ado, I think I got the PowerPoint working now. So we are going to try to get through this PowerPoint and see what we do with it. So I'm going to share my screens with you guys, and I pray that everyone can see. All right. Come on. So now I have the PowerPoint up, but now it's not allowing me to Presented, huh? Come on, present. Okay. All right, guys. So this is what we're going to do. We're just going to do it from here. We've wasted enough time. It's not moving. It's like stuck. It's not going slide from slide. So I don't know what's going on this morning. It does not want to move. So let's try it again. Oh, this is too weird. All right. It's not working. Nothing. As you can see, everything is just like locked up. It's like trying to decide what it wants to do, guys. All right. We're going to stop this. All right. We're not even going to do this right now because it does not know what it wants to do. So we're just going to just go and play it by ear. And like I did the other day, I thought that I had the PowerPoint up and it didn't want to come up. So, and it didn't allow me to share. So we're just going to play it by ear, just go all of memory, because at this point, I want Daphne to have all the time that she get with you guys and speak what God has given her. So it was setting your vision in alignment with your purpose. And so I kind of went through this process of like what I call elimination, setting your vision in alignment with your purpose. And so I said, okay, well, what is vision? What is vision? I mean, a lot of us think of vision as just being, what you see, and what is alignment and what is your purpose, So I just immediately went into what is vision, and vision is the ability to be either able to see or the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. And so when I think of vision, I think of how everyone gets ready for a new year. Everyone starts setting, these goals. Everyone starts setting these ideas of how they are going to, what they're going to do for the new year and how they're going to, set their life in motion. And sometimes, we like to set ourselves up for success. And sometimes we set ourselves up for failure, because we put certain things that are just kind of like out of reach. We say, oh, well, I'd like to win the lotto, or, and the difference of having that type of vision is that you already know that you're one in so many billion people or million people that play it. So that vision of saying that you want to win the lotto is, to me, not really easily accessible. So when you're setting your vision, you want to set it by setting little milestones, things that that you can actually create and things that you can actually manifest yourself, or with the assistance easily of with someone else who may have the same vision or plans as yourself. I know that when I thought of the year 2020, I said, oh, 2020, it's going to be that I can see clearly now, that year of I can see it clearly now. Now, everything else that was, of the past, I'm going into 2020 with this new eyesight, with this new way of seeing things, with the ability to just feel like everything's going to be fresh and new, because now that I've conquered all these past things that I was dealing with, this is going to be my year. Well, the pandemic happened, right? We didn't realize that was going to happen. And so what I loved is that even though the pandemic happened and I had to shift my way of doing things and going into a virtual setting, as you can see, God gave me the ability to learn that I had to go for my spiritual discernment, that side of knowing that anything that God does, he does for a reason. He does this like we learned yesterday, and by testing, and sometimes we have to test him as well and say, God, is this exactly, what you want of me? And if this isn't, then please, help me to configure what I'm doing so that that way I know that everything that I'm doing is I'm putting you at the forefront. I'm thinking of you. I'm talking to you. I'm making sure that everything that I think about is in alignment with you. And so that's when I thought about what is alignment. Well, the Webster Merriam Dictionary says that alignment is the ability to actually put something correctly in order, or to where it looks like it's in an appropriate or relative position. So when you think about putting something correctly in order, you can put dominoes in order and things like that. And kids play that game where you push the one domino and it affects the next domino and the next domino. But if you put things in appropriate relative positions, then that means that you position this to do this and you position that to do that. It's kind of like, when you're seeing like a formation of military soldiers in formation. It's like when they're marching, they're all marching in the same row and they're all doing the things like at the same time, to where you can see that when they say left face, they make that left turn exactly at the right appointed time. And then the other part of alignment is a position of agreement or alliance. Well, if those people that are in that formation don't agree with the instructions that are being taught to them, then that means that you're going to see people going in different directions and no one's in alignment. You're going to see it looks kind of a little bit like chaos. And it's you don't really want chaos when you're trying to plan or vision something in a straight or an appropriate relative position. Because when it causes chaos, we know about wheel alignments in our car, your car begins to swerve to the left or to the right, and you're wondering why, oh no, this isn't working right, because you realize that you're going into someone else's lane. So you have to get that wheel alignment to keep you right straight in front of you, keep you focused. And it kind of reminded me when I spoke yesterday of how, when the horse has its blinders on, the horse has to keep looking forward. The horse has to keep looking straight. So that way the horse is able to continue moving forward and not worry about the other horses, so that it doesn't impede that horse's progress. And when I thought of that, it was like so purposeful to think that, what is your purpose? In the Merriam-Webster dictionary says the purpose is for which something is done or created, or for which something exists, or have as one's intention or objective. So again, it was purpose went on the same kind of wavelength as your vision, creating something for which something exists. So if you don't see it, you got to create it so that you can make something exist in your life or in your future that you don't see currently. We know that people have done this. That's the reason why the TV was created and the microwave was created, and why certain help books were created, because certain people were not seeing in their everyday life things fruitioning in the manner that they desired them to be manifested. So what they did was they created these things so that it can either be, easier for them, or it can be, more fruitful for them to think in another way. So when you're aligning things with your purpose, you're thinking of your passions, you're thinking of your desires, you're thinking of the things that you just want to be able to do and what you feel fulfilled. It's about a level of fulfillment. And you can kind of think of, do you want to stay in the old way, or do you want to grow into a new way? You know that as you age, you know that your level of spiritual maturity grows, and you don't end up in the same place that you were before. Because if you keep going back to that same place, you realize that you're still in the same place. Nothing new is happening. Nothing fresh is happening. You're just growing old, and everyone else is having either a marriage and children and grandchildren, and you're still stuck in the same place because you're not living within your purpose. You're not desiring anything more for yourself. You're staying in this place of everything's going to be okay just because I think it's okay. And I'm comfortable, I'm complacent with wearing the same color every day. I'm comfortable with having the same car from 1987, even though nothing else, um, needs to be new in my life. And sometimes when people see you like that, sometimes people's visions of you are, oh, I wonder if that person's happy. I wonder if, if she has enough money. It's like everyone's like, oh, they must be so lonely. They don't have any family. They don't have any friends. They don't have these things. And so we have to make sure that when we're doing things, that we're living a purpose-driven life. When we live a purpose-driven life, there's a scripture that says, Psalms 57:2. It says, I will cry unto God's most high, unto God that performeth all things for me. So God wants everything for you, any and everything that you could even desire. But the thing is that, of course, we don't always go after it, because sometimes we say, you know, I think I want to do that, but I'm not sure. It's kind of like, when you decide on dieting, isn't that your New Year resolution? I'm going to go on this diet. But sometimes halfway through that New Year's resolution, usually 3 months in, sometimes 30 days in, we kind of tuck her out of it. We kind of say, oh, I don't want to get up and go walking. Well, we've kind of already talked ourselves out of it mentally. When if you would have just went over to your closet, put your shoes on and walked out the door, you're already walking. You're walking. You're not thinking about it. It's a commitment to yourself. And when you commit to yourself to do something, there's a reward on the other side of that. You're going to feel good after that walk. You're going to say, yes, kudos to me. I feel great. So that's what we have to do, is we have to set little reward systems in our lives. Whenever you want to do something, do a 90-day, do a 30-day, do a 60-day, do anything that you can do to make sure that at the end of that, there's a reward. Like what I do for myself is, when I know that I want something really big, I tell myself, okay, well, how long is it going to take me to get that? Is it going to take me 30, 60, 90 days, or maybe 6 months to get that? Well, what can I do now? What do? I put a little bit of money aside. I make sure that I make a budget and I put a little bit of money aside for that. And if it's of course something larger, then of course I needed to extend that time out past 6 months. And I know that I'm going to be working towards that. And when you work towards that and you reward yourself and you reach those rewards, you get to this place of where you're like, wow, I did it. I can't believe I did it. It's like when you get your degree in college, you're suffering sometimes late nights, sometimes early mornings, sometimes a lot of studying, sometimes fatigue, because there's so much that you're learning at one time. But as soon as you're done with your degree and you walk across that stage and you have it, you're like, oh, wow, what do I do now? What's next? Oh, okay, maybe I'll go back to school. But there's some people who are just like, why would I go and do that after I just did this? Because sometimes you feel like now you still need to fill that time with something else. That's why you see that a lot of successful people, their options are limitless. You see them on this board. You see them on that charity. You see them doing this over here to help this homeless person. You see them maybe doing food drives. You see them doing blank drives. You see them working on this with this church. You see them, their hands are in so many pots, and you're just like, how can they stay focused enough to do all of these things? Because when you have a passion to do things, it doesn't feel like work. You actually begin to like what you're doing. You love it because you know that everything that you're doing is for the greater good. The options are limitless that you can do. You don't have to worry about anyone telling you what you can't do, because if you have a passion for what you're doing and you have a purpose for what you're doing and you're aligning everything and you're scheduling it out, that's why I've been telling you guys here, write it down, post it, show us what you're working on. Let us know how you feel about today. Because if you are really wanting change, you're going to actually see it in front of you. You're going to keep notes of it. You're going to keep positive little accolades and affirmations to say, I deserve this. So I'm going to work on this by making sure that I do this today. Even if you can live day by day and making yourself a goal sheet every day, make a goal sheet of every day then. Start off small. Make it daily goal sheets, then go into the weekly, then go into the monthly, then go into the 3, the 60, and the 90 days. Do whatever you have to do, which works for you. For me, I'm a little bit of a minimalist. I like to see goals happen a little bit quicker. So I really don't make my goals past 6 months. And the reason why is because I like those those moments like right now. Yes, I did that 6 months. And that's what works for me. What works for me may not work for you. But what matters is that you put yourself in a position to know what are your likes, what are your dislikes, and what can you do now. And this is what this is. This is a call to action. It's a call to action to get yourself in a place of knowing that anything that you want, you can do it. You can do it. And it's totally up to you. So I just wanted to tell you that bit, and I will allow our guest speaker to expound on it because, like I said, it was her topic. I just enjoyed it so much that I just was like, oh my gosh. Like I said, I like being challenged. And I love being challenged. So without further ado, I am going to invite our guest speaker, Taffany Nolan Williams. Welcome, Taffany. Welcome. Uh-oh, hold on. I can't hear you, but I don't know.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you now. See, I wasn't thinking me.
It wasn't you this time. It was on my side. I apologize for that.
You're fine.
Yes. So how's it going?
It is going well. How's it going with you, beautiful?
Great. It's going great. I'm super excited about today. This subject is something that is so dear to my heart. It is a space that I have spent years overcoming. I'm still on the journey, and I know that I will continue this journey until I cross over into glory, right?
Hey, hallelujah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm going to give you the floor, and if you want me to chime in, just go ahead and call me, and I will be right back.
Awesome. That sounds good. Hey, I am Taffany Williams. I am super excited to get to spend some time with you on today and just kind of give you just a quick snippet of who I am as a person and what it is that I'm called to do. Our subject today is an amazing subject that a lot of people don't take the time to sit down and really evaluate. And personally, I believe that 2020 has been a time to do just that, to take a step back and to really truly be mindful of the motives of our movements. You know, when our motives are not right, our movements can get us to a space of being overwhelmed and truly frustrated in what it is that we do. We can even begin to despise the people that we serve. I'm telling you from experience. I am an ordained minister. So I've been in ministry for many years, well over 20 years I've been in ministry. And a lot of times that space has been because I'm there because they need me. I'm there because they expect me to be there. I'm there because, and my motives weren't exactly right. So I found myself getting into spaces of frustration. And like I said, even despising some of the people that God had called me to serve. So it's not just people like, it's anybody. It matters not what your title is. It matters not what you're operating in. It is so important for us to understand our kingdom purpose, right? Because we can set purposes that we want. We can put our little 2 cents in there. However, if it is not called the calling that God has on our life, then we will still find ourselves in a space of frustration. Now, mind you, your purpose in seasons, you have to look at that too, right? There are certain seasons when you're called to certain things. So we always should be taking an assessment, doing a thorough assessment holistically to see what it is that God is calling us to do in that particular season. I like to start off by saying I am, as I said before, an ordained minister. I am a Christian life coach. I have the opportunity to also be a Christian counselor, best-selling author, TV personality, you name it. God has given me a lot to do. And to whom much is given, much is required. I have to back up and give you a little bit of backdrop about how I was created. One of the first questions that I asked God is, why did you create me? Why am I here? I got a little parable for you. So my grandfather was a business owner. He had a mechanic shop, and out back of our mechanic shop, we had a junkyard. So even as a little girl, you learned all the parts to the car, and you would sometimes be given the task to go pull apart from the used things in order to fix something that was new. I had seen this thing, and I knew they called it a ratchet, but the only thing that I had seen done with this ratchet was to hammer a nail. Had a nail, couldn't find a hammer, they put the nail up there, they take this ratchet and bam, 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 the nail would go in. So I had no idea what this thing was truly supposed to be used for. I didn't know its value. It didn't have a price tag on it. It didn't have any type of wrapping, anything covering it that would show me what it was called. So I used it for what they had used it for, what I had seen it be used for. Okay? Because as a child, we don't know any more than what we see around us. So with that being said, when I got older, I ended up being used for things that I wasn't created to do as well. Why? Because I hadn't gone back to the creator to find out the value, the use, and the name. Who have you let name you? Okay? So I was the result of teenage love. My mom and dad were both only 14 when they got pregnant with me, 15 by the time I was born. My grandmother started feeding my mom turpentine and quinine, which are two poisons, to get rid of the baby. Me, but God. So I asked God the question, Lord, why did you spare me in the womb? So he said that he knew the plans that he had for me, the plans to prosper me and to give me hope, right? He also said that he knew the path that I was supposed to take, even before he placed me in my mother's womb. His decision of what his reason was for saving me in the womb didn't change because of the hurt and the pain and all of the disgruntledness that I went through in life. And neither do yours. Your purpose is still the same. But a lot of times we have to back up and stop doing what other people have told us we're good at, what we're expected to do. Being in a mechanic shop and being in a family business, it was like I was expected to automatically go into some kind of bookkeeping or accounting or, engineering or mechanics or something like that, because that's what I was exposed to as a child. And I did. I became an accountant, absolutely loved numbers, still love numbers to this day. Went from accounting to auditing, which I absolutely love, formulating structures and processes and curriculums and all of those process pieces. I'm a builder. That's who I am. I'm a trainer. I'm a reproducer of reproducers. That's who I am. But I did not know that in the beginning. So a lot of my gifts and talents and passions were looked over, and I did things because it's good money, or somebody told me I was good at it, or this is just what it was expected of me because that's what I saw coming up. So I want to take you on this journey with me. I want to take you on a journey that you can go on yourself and spend some time seeking the face of the Lord and looking at some of the things that have happened in your process on your journey, because we all have a beautiful journey that God has orchestrated specifically for you. Your journey is not mine. My journey is not yours. And everyone has their own process. But I want to take you on a calculated process, a step-by-step. I call them stepping stones. When we want to get to one side of the lake from the side of the lake that we're on, a lot of times there are stones. And we can take stone number 3 first if we jump into it, but we risk falling and getting hurt. We risk drowning, right? I don't know about you, but I felt like I've been drowning in several situations, totally overwhelmed with the work that was set before me, the amount of responsibilities I had when it came to family, friends, and that whole work-life balance. I had the hardest time figuring that out. I would set visions for myself. I would set goals for myself, and I would usually end up being extremely frustrated, depressed because I didn't meet it, anxious because I had a deadline, all of those things that are not what God intends for us as his baby girls and baby boys. He wants us to experience peace. He wants us to be whole and healed. He wants us to walk in freedom and in truth. And he wants us to have the desires of our heart. The desires of our heart, that comes easy because our desires begin to line up with his desires when we seek his advice on what our purpose is. So I want you to get a pen and piece of paper, or if you're like me, get your phone so that we can, put these notes in there so that it's a constant reminder to continue to evaluate your life based on where you are, and not necessarily where you want to go, but where you've been and where you are. So you can start at 0 and then move forward. A lot of times we get in these spaces and we're writing these vision boards based on what we want. And we get into these things and then ask God to come in and bless the things that we're doing. I want to invite you to seek God's face and see where he's working, and then get on board where he is, because his word never returns to him void. ever. So let's start now, right? I want you to take us a minute and think back to your childhood. Think back to the circumstances of everything, what culture you were born in, right? There's a lot of cultures where women don't have the ability to speak their mind or to move into what they want or even to marry the man that they choose. So, what was the culture that you were born into? Let's take a look at that. Now, in that culture, what are the things that you picked up from that culture? Good things. And what are the bad things that you picked up? Make a list of both. And once you make that list of both of those things, go back and see what you actually did. And those things that you want to continue, by all means, continue. And those that you don't want to continue, put a line in through that. Mark it out. And do like I say, just stop. You don't have to. Who do you have to answer to? Only God and yourself, right? There is no such thing as people pleasing when you're walking in your purpose. That's a writer downer. I love that term, writer downer. That's a writer downer. When we're walking in our purpose, we will not be in a space of people pleasing. Okay? Then I want you to take a moment and think about the people that were around you when you were coming up. Those people that played a part in your upbringing. Those caretakers, even teachers, coaches, those people that played a part or that were some type of influence in your life. And when you begin to look at childhood influences, we again begin to see that there are both good things that those people brought to the table and some bad things. Doesn't mean that you don't love them. Doesn't mean that you don't appreciate what they poured into your life. It's just the truth. And the truth is what sets us free. Case in point, my adopted mom I don't think that I could have had a better mom, right? But she had a tendency to hold on to grudges. And I found myself early on doing the same things. When I decided that I chose not to carry that as a part of who I am as a person, and I chose to just stop, the relationships that were built in that space are still some of those relationships that stand today. However, had I continued in that space of holding on to grudges, which I picked up from my mom, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I wouldn't have had the positive influences. People who have been able to speak into my life that started off in a bad place with me. They were not nice, or they did things to me that actually hurt. But because I had made the choice to forgive, I was able to move forward and get the good that was in those people. So do that for each person that was a part of your caretaking when you were coming up. As I said before, my adopted mom, she was my grandmother's sister. So it was still in the family. Now, I come from a family with a lot of, I think everybody has some dysfunction in their family of some sort. And sometimes we don't realize it as being dysfunction because it's a comfortable place for us. I remember my husband making a statement one time, and he said something about the comfortable love. And I was like, what does that even mean? And he said, the love that you experienced when you were young, and even though it may be dysfunctional, is comfortable to you. And I had to stop and think about that because he was right. There were some things that were a representation of love for me when I was coming up. That's not normal. It's just not normal. So I had to take an evaluation and really assess that and audit that in my life. And I encourage you to do the same. So it's all a part of becoming your authentic you. How much of who you are today is because that's who you choose to be? How much of who you are today is because that's what somebody told you about yourself? And how much of who you are today is because of your own personal limiting belief system and the lies that you believe that we all hear in our head? We hear those lies. You're not good enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough, not thin enough, not, right? And we have to be able to disown those lies because you've owned them. If you didn't own them, you wouldn't be operating like that. Disown those lies, seek God's truth, and then begin to speak that truth over those negative thoughts. So that's step number 2. Identify the lies that you believed about yourself or that people have told you about yourself. Seek God's face and his word about your truth, his truth about who you are. Ask him, God, how do you see me? God, when I wake up in the morning, what are you thinking? What's the one word that you could use to describe me? And stand on that thing, because there are going to be some hard days. And when those hard days come, you can stand on God's truth to know that that is not who you are. You are who God says you are. All right? So becoming your authentic you. The next space I want you to look at is who modeled certain roles in front of you. Who modeled certain roles in front of you? I am in my forever marriage. It's not my first marriage. It's my forever marriage. Some of y'all will catch that later. And one of the things that I realized, because I was doing the same thing and expecting a different result, I had come a little bit comfortable with a certain level of insanity. Different man, different face, different state, different name, same dude, same struggles. At some point, I had to take a step back and say, okay, if I'm the only common denominator, then maybe it's my faulty thought process that's creating this space. So I had to take that step back, as I said, and look at me. And that's all a part of creating or understanding, evaluating, discovering, rediscovering your life purpose. Because purpose gives permission. Purpose gives permission to what we say yes to. Purpose gives permission even to the trials that we go through and the tests that we have to pass. Not have to pass, we get to pass. We have an opportunity to pass, because they'll continue to come until you pass it, especially when God has a bigger plan for your life, which he definitely does anyway. So when we talk about writing vision, when we write vision, it has to be in alignment with our purpose in order for us to be able to be consistently showing up 100%, going all out, all in for whatever it is that's going on. Another thing that we look at when we're identifying purpose is our passions, right? A lot of people think passion is just like something that just naturally comes to you. And yeah, it can be that. But passion can also be discovered, right? I had absolutely no idea that I had a passion for boxing. Like, I am so good at it, right? Didn't realize that until I was exposed to it. So get out of your comfort zone and expose yourself to things that are new. You may identify something that's a passion for you that you had no idea that you even liked. Seek God's face about that. Ask him, I got a weekend. There's certain trips that I can take that are within a day away. Where, Lord, would you have me go? What is it that's out there that's waiting to be discovered by me that I can see that it is truly becomes passion? The more I'm exposed to it, the more passionate I become about it. I remember one day, my husband and I were at the laundromat, and we saw this lady that we knew from church, and she was caring for some children who were obviously not hers. And we asked the question, like, where's their mom? And she said, we're in a homeless shelter, and the mom has gone to apply for a job, and I'm watching the kids for her. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So my husband just took to the little boys, and they were like, hey, can I ride your back? Can you play with cards with us? They were just really, really into spending time with my husband. And after we left there and we left that environment, we sat in the car and just thought, like, wow, here we are. And, we have a home to stay in. We have, a car to drive. And these children are out here with no home, no car. We've got to do something. We can't just stay in our own little bubble and think that that's okay. So we sat there in the parking lot and searched for opportunities to serve, to volunteer, to step in. You know, a lot of times we see a lot of women in those volunteer spaces, but we ended up at the Pregnancy Care Center. And the Pregnancy Care Center, we went in, we talked, hey, are there opportunities to serve? Are there papers that we need to fill out? Do we need to get a background check? What is it that we can do? All of these questions we had because we wanted to serve. And as we did that, it was explained to us that there are men that come in that don't know about caring for a child. As I said, my husband and I, we're a blended family. We have 13 children and 20 grandchildren so far. And several of our children haven't started having children yet. My husband raised his first daughter by himself from 6 months old to 16. So he has a lot of information that could be beneficial to a man raising a child or to a man being in a space, even having the wife there, but when he's alone with the child, knowing how to care for the child. So this became a passion for us to speak into the lives of young married couples, to speak into the lives of young parents, to speak into the lives of homelessness, to speak into those lives. It truly became a passion, and we serve to that capacity even today in organizations that already have those things set up. So get out and expose yourself to something new. You know, Jazzy spoke about complacency earlier. And when we're in spaces of complacency, it's very difficult for us to fully go through the steps that are necessary to identify our life purpose if we've never been exposed to something different. So I invite you to seek out some things new and find out where those passions are. What are those things that just keep you up at night, or those things that drive you to do more? The next stepping stone I want to talk to you about would be looking at your talents. As I said, I have a natural talent to do some things. I don't want to say multitasker, but I can do several things within a certain period of time. That's a gift, a talent, something that I'm good at, that I never even tried to be good at. You know, as I was spending, my mom's 82 years old, and I was with her for a couple of weeks, a couple months ago, and she was telling me, she was like, Taffany, even when you were young, you've always been the voice of those that couldn't speak for themselves. You always saw good in people, even when they were bad people. You've always been ... She's telling me all of these things about myself. And some of those things that she was telling me, I did not remember. I didn't remember coming home and telling her that my friend used to have long hair. Now she has short hair because when her mom gets mad, she pulls her hair out. I didn't remember that. But my mom was able to tell me that. And she said that I didn't stop until somebody did something to help that little girl. I remember the time when I asked Jesus, like, what is it? What is that one word that you hear when you think about Taffany? And the word was tenacious. Now, I know what tenacity means and all that stuff, but I was thinking on the bad side, you know, being stubborn and, you know, strong-willed and all that good stuff. And I wasn't thinking about it necessarily from the positive way of thinking. But when I get my mind set on something, I'm not going to stop until it's done. And that's a positive thing. That's who God created me to be. So when I found out about Jesus and I heard the good news and I experienced the freedom and the liberty that is in that because of who I am in Christ, I wasn't going to stop until the world heard it. Everyone around me gets a chance to hear that. God gave me a gift to be able to articulate in such a way that a person that doesn't even know the love of Christ can experience that through by Christ who lives in me. And he's given all of us that gift, the gift of the ministry of reconciliation. As we're reconciled back to our who we are, right? The value, the name, and the use of, based on what God says, because we got to go back to the Creator. Then we're able to do that. We're therefore go and create disciples, teaching them the word, baptizing them in the name of the Holy Spirit, right? That is a gift that we're all given. And we can't leave that out when we're thinking about purpose. Does that mean I go around quoting scripture to people? No. Does that mean that I go around beating people across the head with a Bible? No, not at all. But the Jesus that lives inside of me gives me an opportunity to show who he is to the people that he's called me to serve. There are people that I will be able to reach that you will never reach. There are people that you will reach that I will never reach. We are all created with a purpose, and our vision should be in alignment with that purpose so that we don't get into spaces of frustration or beginning to despise the people that God has called us to serve. Think back to a time when you didn't have the quote unquote stresses of life. As a kid, probably. Think about the things that you enjoyed doing then. I know I used to like to color. I loved to color, and I was good at it. I mean, like winning coloring contests and all of that. Well, how can that be in alignment with my purpose? Well, it could help me create really nice workbooks. My ebooks are off the chain because of the creativity that God has placed inside of me. So start investigating that. Start thinking back to some of those things that you were good at, that you enjoyed doing when you were little. I remember as a kid being asked, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a wife and a mom. A wife and a mom. No, but what do you want to do? Oh, I want to be a neurosurgeon. Well, what does neurosurgeons do? Am I a neurosurgeon? No, I'm not. But what do? They create spaces for the natural flow of things to move and to do what's supposed to be done. Whether it's removing a tumor, opening up a blockage, whatever that is, it's creating a process so that things can flow and messages can be sent from where they are to where they need to be. From the brain to the extremities, from the heart to the brain and the brain to the heart and all that good stuff. That's what they do. But they have to be strategic in what they do. They have to really think about the process that they're going to take. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. So all of those things that I loved as a kid and those things that I wanted to be when I grew up are all in sync or in line with the purpose that God created me for. And that was to be a builder and to be a shipbuilder, relationships, stewardship, all those ships, memberships, you name it. It was a shipbuilder. And then being a reproducer of reproducers. So the next thing I want you to think about is like your life path, right? What are those things that have happened to you, good, bad, or indifferent? Because I'm an 828 kind of girl. All things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose, right? What are those things that you've overcome? What did you learn? Like, what is it that you learned that you can then turn around and share with someone else so that they don't have to go A, B, C, D? They can skip those in between. You can create a shortcut for their ability to overcome by tools that you can help them with, that you can equip them with. And you looking at your purpose, maybe that's in alignment with your purpose. Maybe that's what you were created to do, is to help people overcome in a shorter period of time than what you had to. So looking at all of those things. And the last thing that I want you to really evaluate when you're looking at that, I read the book by Rick Warren, The Purpose Driven Life. And I honestly believe that was probably one of the most pivotal points in my life, was really starting to step back and look at my shape. When I began to really, really, really dig into this whole purpose thing, which I do now on a daily basis with clients, looking at purpose, one of the things that his method was, look at your spiritual gifts, look at where your heart is, your abilities and your attitude, your personality, and your experiences. Because as I said before, purpose gives permission. This is going to sound really weird. As I said before, I'm not in my first marriage, but I am in my forever marriage. As I look back over my relationships, romantic relationships, I've only had, I think, one relationship where I didn't get cheated on. And that's a moral failure from the man in that situation, right? When I looked at that, I thought, how can that have a purpose in my life? Number one, it was an attempt to get me to truly understand my value, to know who I was, because every time I blamed myself for someone else's choices, that don't even make sense when I say it. When it comes out of my mouth, it doesn't make sense. But in that season, it did, because I thought, well, I'm not as thin as I used to be, or I'm not as active as I used to be, or I don't fix myself up like I used to, and all those other things, right? I started beating myself up. And then the Lord was like, do you feel that I made a mistake when I created you? I was like, no, you don't make mistakes. But one of the things that I realized, even in those moral failures that caused trauma, caused hurt, were toxic, all of that, right? I was able to forgive. I was able to forgive and to reconnect in a relationship, maybe not a romantic relationship anymore, but in a relationship. The relationship was more important to me than holding on to the grudge or the hurt or the anger that I had in those spaces. Did it hurt? Yes, it did. Hurt my heart, hurt my pride, hurt all that stuff. I was 16 when I got married. Went from my mama's house to my husband's house. And it was a toxic situation that I stayed in for a very, very long time. However, I learned a lot about Taffany in that space. I learned a lot about relationships, and I learned a whole bunch about God and prayer. And I learned God telling me who he saw when he looked at me. And he took all of those experiences and put them all together to prepare me for my forever husband. Because even in that situation, even in this situation, I've had to deal with a moral failure on my husband's side. However, I was able to love him through that. And we were able to grow, and we are in our forever marriage. So even the bad things were a preparation for the purpose that God had for my life. Through the love that I was able to show and still am showing to my husband, my forever husband, he met God. He has a strong relationship with God now through our Savior, Jesus Christ. So even in that, my purpose was set up in such a way that it has allowed me to impact this world in a positive way along the journey that God has created for me. And he's created a specific journey for you as well. So don't despise those things that were hurtful. Don't despise those things that caused pain. You learned to overcome, and you grew through it. Not just go through things, but grow through them. Realize the steps that were taken in order to heal from those processes and move on to a different space. Okay? So now that we got all of those things together, and we've covered 6 stepping stones in this process, maybe even a 7th one that I threw in there. But now that we've covered those things, it's time to really pull them together to identify your actual purpose and to create a manifesto or a declaration of what your purpose is, so that you can set realistic, measurable, sustainable, tangible goals or vision for your 2021. Pull it all together. Write it all down. And then look and sit it before the Lord and say, Lord, you know what you have planned for 2021. I don't. I'm pretty sure there's not very many people that expected 2020 to be the way that it has been. However, it's been a time to get it together and to identify the motives of your movements. So as we go into 2021, no longer setting visions based on what you want to do, but setting visions that is in alignment with your life purpose, your kingdom purpose, because we seek first the kingdom, right? And his righteousness, and then everything else that we need comes to us. So as we pull all of that together and ask the Lord what his plan is for us for 2021, be careful to not set goals that other people can destroy. That's where depression and anxiety comes in. Frustration comes in. I cannot say that my goal is to have a happy marriage and a happy family. Who can mess that up? Everybody in the family, right? Right. So my goal is to be a better wife, to be the best mom that I can be, and to spend more time with the Lord and to seek his face about everything that I do before I do it. Who can mess that up? Me. So that's a realistic goal. That's a realistic vision, is to become a better person in 2021 than I was in 2020. Now, I can say that, yes, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to be able to, mine is, I want to be able to walk up the stairs without giving out of breath. Okay? I don't care if it's 10 pounds, I don't care if it's 50. I want to be able to walk up the stairs without giving out of breath. That's a realistic, tangible, measurable, realistic goal for me. That's on my vision board. So writing your vision, Habakkuk says it, make it plain, right? So that somebody else can come along and run the race. It can be a blueprint for someone else, so that as they move into 2021, or if they find it in 2025 or 27, they can look at that and say, you know what, this is pretty good. Now, this may not fit because it's not in alignment with my purpose, but I can replace that, and I can take this vision that she had set forth, and I can run this same race because I am called to be a reproducer of reproducers. Jazzy?
Wow. Can I just say wow again? Because I didn't know you were going to end it like right there with just being a reproducer of a reproducers, because that was one of the things that I just want to be, is like I tell people, is to be a walking, talking billboard. If you are leading by example and you're that leader, you don't mind going in and making the pathway for those that are following you easier. You know, some people are intimidated by that, but sometimes when you go through that path for them, then you realize by bringing more people through that path, like you said, you make a shortcut for them. And making shortcuts for other people, it actually makes you and your whatever you're doing, whether it's business or personal or having to deal with the church, whatever you're doing, it just makes it easier for everyone to where they can say, I can do that too. It's like that place where you can kind of get to the other side and everyone's like giving each other a high five, like, yeah, you did that, I can do that. And that's what you're trying to do, is you're giving people that willpower, that unction to say that, you know, yes, it may have come with a little bit of difficulty, but you know what? You just stay the course. Just stay the course and you will see your successes.
Yes.
And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I also like when you said, you know, give yourself permission. You do. We don't give ourselves permission enough. We always want to, you know, tell ourselves, oh, I can't do this. Or, you know, we get in that self-deprecating place. And it's like, if you give yourself permission, then what you're saying is that if I do make a mistake, I give myself permission to fail at that.
Yes.
But I give myself permission to go back to the drawing board and try to figure out something that may work in my failures. Yes. You know, there's nothing wrong with failure.
Yes. And that's the beauty of it. God even gives us permission to fail. You know, he gives us permission to fail in the fact that he gave us Jesus Christ to wipe those things out, right? And we can go before him and confess and say, you know what, Daddy, I messed up. Like, I messed up. Believe me, I've been there. I'm like, look, you're going to have to create a clean heart in me because I don't even want to try to do better right now. Like, I'm feeling all kinds of messed up right now. Right. You know, and he welcomes us back in with open arms. And so we have to give ourselves permission to fail. I did want to talk to you about something that you said that I thought was just one of the most powerful things that you could have ever mentioned. And that was to give yourself kudos for those small wins. Like when a lot of times we set these long-term goals for a year, and you know, at some point we might get there, but we're on a journey, right? Setting those monthly goals or those daily goals, like you said, even I hadn't even thought about the daily goals, but you're right. You know, there's some days and I wake up on what they say, the wrong side of the bed, you know.
Of course. We all do.
Lord, just let me get through the day without cussing somebody out. Like, I mean, I'm good with there. And then hallelujah, I did it, you know, and have those spaces. That's good. That's real good.
Oh yeah. Because, you know, I had to learn that the hard way. because, everyone always says, well, you got to set they always say your 2-year plan, your 5-year plan, and your 10-year plan. And to me, to set goals out so far, it was so intimidating.
Yes.
It was intimidating for me. And I didn't realize, I would get so much anxiety if I tried to plan something 5 years out, because I'm one of those people, I say I'm a realist, is that I don't want to think 5 years out, because something might change today.
That's right.
That might change what I planned 5 years out. So why plan so far? I love spontaneity. I love living in the moment. And so if you plan something out 5 years, you're like, yeah, I can't do this because I got that 5-year plan. With that.
And even in that, where are you leaving room for Holy Spirit to change it and pivot? Think about what happened in 2020. A person that had that specific goal and were just dead set on that goal, man, I can only imagine what they may be going through emotionally, with the requirement to pivot. I said it was a requirement. It was a requirement to pivot this year, in everything that we did, just by not being able to go and come as we had done before. Give me a whole new respect for people that don't have the ability to get out and do things. It just,
right.
If you had something set in stone, it would have affected you even more emotionally. And as a counselor, I am seeing an increase in clientele or people requesting services because they had more of a stringent, non-pivotable, no spontaneous actions at all, because that's how they're very analytical in how they think. So
right.
That's good.
And that's why the suicide rate is high as well, because hello, we're both life coaches, so we both know, in this. But I thank God that when I first got into this, I always wanted to talk with people just about being comfortable with themselves. Don't try to keep yourself meeting anybody else's standards. I don't care what their parents taught them. Your parents' standards are not your standards. And you have different gifts than someone else. Like you said, I love it how you were talking about how, like, the family business, because that is the biggest thing. When there's a successful family business, family members always expect for the younger generation to come in and work that family business to keep it going. And it's like, but what about if I have other dreams or endeavors that I want to expound upon? I feel like I'm railroaded into this position because I need to make my family happy, and coming from a spiritual, background, we always want to feel that we're honoring our mother and father. Even though we may be an adult, we still get into that place because that's what the Bible says. But it doesn't mean that you're not honoring your mother and your father if you make a decision to do something for yourself. That's why it says, train up a child in the way that he shall go. So that way, if he decides to go, like the story of the prophet where his son went away and came back.
Prodigal son.
The prodigal son. Yeah. He trained him. He left. He wanted his inheritance now. So sometimes, even if you want that inheritance now, that doesn't mean that you can't come back, because I'm still going to love you as my child. I'm still going to, tell you, great, you tried it. Because if you don't allow your children to fail, you don't allow them to have different experiences, they are going to be miserable under you for life.
Yeah, and unprepared for life. One of the things, when my husband and I got together, I'm the biological mom of 4, and he's biologically the dad of 9. And mine were all adults when we came together. And he made a statement, because I still was holding on. My identity had been wrapped up into being a wife, being a mom. I did not know who Taffany was. So we took a whole year apart to be able to identify who we were before we stepped into this thing called marriage. Like, this is a ministry. Ministry is, it's serving one another. And how can you truly effectively serve a person that you don't know? Because all I know is the you that you're showing me. Right. So if the real you come out somewhere in the mix, I'm like, who is this dude? Right. So unfortunately, there was still part of that. You know what I'm saying? Right. But even in that, he was like, how unfair would it be for you to leave this earth and leave these kids here unprepared and not able to take care of themselves. How unfair is that of you? And I thought, I never thought about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So training them up in the way that they should go, then that just gives them the freedom to fail, and,
Mm-hmm.
and gives me the opportunity to step in and give advice when it's asked for,
Right.
and help guide them to the tools that are necessary for them to make the educated decision that they need to make.
Exactly. And love them where they are. Not
Yes.
try to make them into you. Because, I mean, that's why the Bible says for us to make, to basically leave something for your children's children, not
That's
your
right.
children, but your children's children, your
That's right.
grandkids. So, I mean, in order for your kids to be fruitful, you have to allow them to live so that way they can say, you know what, my mother was great at doing this. So I know that my kids are going to be great at doing this because I learned this from her, but, she still allowed me to grow, or my father still allowed me to grow. And that's the biggest thing for me in doing this, is to just let people know that it's okay to be you. You don't have to be someone that someone wants you to be. Be happy with being you.
Yeah.
And be comfortable in your skin with being you, because that's the only way you're going to find out who, like you said, you truly are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's so important. And I did not realize it. I had spent the majority of my time in my life really sitting there trying to make sure that I was making everybody else happy. And I was miserable in the process.
Right.
And I remember somebody asking me the question, well, what makes Taffany happy? And I was like, for everybody else to be happy. And I was like, that's not the right answer.
No.
That's not the right answer at all.
Hey, I was there too. But see, that's the thing. It's the growth, because I was like, as long as everyone else is happy, I'm happy.
Yes. Yes.
But that's not the full truth.
No. And that's what I tell people all the time. I'm a recovering codependent, because I didn't realize how it wasn't so much that I needed people, but it was almost like I had that space where I needed to be needed. So when my children got to an age where I was cutting the umbilical, I should have been cutting the umbilical cord. They were cutting it themselves, like, mama, step back. And I'm like, okay, cool. But why don't you do this? And what have you thought about that? And, and just really putting so much into, making sure everything looked good and the picture looked good. And because it was like this pleasing type space that I was wanting to please there. And, I grew up in the church, and backslid, or whatever you want to call it, or whatever word you want to use it. I had to build my own testimony. That's the way I put it. My kids are building their testimony. That's what they're doing. Because every piece of that was necessary to be the person that I am today. But like you said, just becoming yourself and being okay, being authentically you, and being integrous, right? I mean, in order to walk in integrity, you got to be who you are. And God says that he knows the plans he has for you. Well, I hadn't become me yet. So he couldn't even show me the plans that he had, because I was being somebody else.
Right. He couldn't use you fully in your capacity. But see, that's why when people say that they backslide, it's like, that's because God, he already knew you when he created you. So he already knew that was going to be a part of you.
Right.
This wasn't really your backslidden condition. It was like your wilderness experience. You need to get the wilderness. He needs you to have that experience so you can appreciate where you are now. It didn't take you 40 years to be in the wilderness.
Exactly. And there was absolutely no way that I would have the tools that I have today, of how to overcome, how to get past betrayal, how to forgive truly from the heart, how to cast down the spirit of pride, how to go through those places to become submissive, how to be a great number two. I wouldn't have had those experiences and those tools that now has allowed me to be able to share with other people. I wouldn't have had those had I not gone through those spaces. It's like every piece of our life is necessary. Right. It's predestined. So it's like we have to go through this process, and it is up to us passing the test that we stop having to go through certain trials. Like, it is necessary for us to be able to pass those tests, because it's going to continue, and we can pass those things, like you said, not necessarily just to our children, but to our children's children. And it will be a part of the legacy that helps them to sustain and become reproducers of reproducers as well.
Awesome. Well, Taffany, I thank you so much for your time, guys. I mean, if you didn't get anything out of this, then I don't think you were listening. honestly don't think you were listening, because she was on point with everything that she said. And I mean, she went a whole different direction than I was even expecting her to go. So like I said, I love learning, and I love what you did, because I mean, you were so transparent, and I appreciate that, because like I even love how you call it your forever marriage, because you
Yeah.
let people know that, hey, I have been married before, but this is what I claim now. This is what I'm claiming now. This is my forever marriage. And that's the thing, is that we have to do is we have to put a name to something, and we have to claim it, and we have to make it what we desire it to be. And I thank you so much for your transparency here today, and look forward to seeing you on the other side. And
Can I have
so you have a great day.
one quick thing? So every year I
Yes,
do a
of course.
conference.
Yeah.
I do a conference called Would You Marry You? And in Would You Marry You, it's a relationship readiness conference, right? But it really is dealing with where you are, so that you can bring the best version of yourself into the marriage when you come together. And the purpose piece is the last piece of what that is. Because even if when you're looking at who it is that the Lord is allowing to find you, right? Because the word says that a man that finds a wife finds a good thing. So even when you're looking at that,
Right.
if you're found by somebody who's not in alignment with your purpose, then you know the answer is no, because purpose gives permission.
Of course.
So I just
Right.
wanted to say that this purpose piece that the Lord has been growing me through is that last piece in that Would You Marry You piece. You know, we look at becoming your authentic you, dealing with the daddy issues, breaking soul ties, loving without limits, and the purpose being given permission and freedom, you know, learning how to forgive, letting it go. So that's why that purpose piece is so heavy on my heart right now. And to be able to align our vision up with that purpose is just, I think that's just from the Lord. I had something else prepared for today, but the Lord, I spoke to him this morning. I said, Daddy, I'm going to open my mouth and you speak, because that's all I know to do.
Well, amen. Now, you said that you do this conference. Are you going to be doing another one, recently, or?
Yeah. So this year, it seems like last year, right?
I know.
Normally I do it in February. Do it in February, the week before Valentine's Day, because I love to speak to women or men who are in that process of identifying their lifelong partner. And a lot of times, you know, people hook up just so that they're not alone during Valentine's Day. Right? So speaking into them and allowing them to understand who they are and all these other dynamic spaces before Valentine's Day is when I felt like the Lord is telling me to do it. So I'm looking at doing the same thing next year. 2021, the week prior to Valentine's Day. I don't know whether it's going to be an in-person. Our last ones have been in person. I don't know if it's going to be in person or if it's going to be virtual, but wherever it's at, it's going to be dynamic. We have amazing speakers that come in and they speak in alignment with their purpose. So whatever it is that God has laid on their heart, you know, like our person that spoke to Soul Ties, his name is Dale Lawrence. He actually has a ministry called Soul Ties. The lady that spoke on removing the mask, because that's the first one, is to remove the mask, become your authentic you. She has a book and she speaks on that specifically. And the other person that does the forgiveness piece, he has a book that's so people speaking in alignment with their purpose. So
right.
It's amazing. It's just an amazing time with the Lord. There was so much deliverance in the process. Just being able to come and have your face on the altar and just heal from some brokenness and some trauma that's gone on, so that you can be the best version of yourself when you get to your forever marriage.
Of course. And that's what you want to be, is you want to be the best version of yourself for just yourself, because you can't love anyone else until you learn to love yourself and you learn to deal with the issues that you already have currently before you bring that baggage into a new relationship, because that's not right for whomever your future spouse is going to be. So
Amen.
I know you are definitely already inside the If You Stay Ready, You Don't Have to Get Ready group. So as we get closer to that date, or if you already have it right now, can you drop that link for people that want to come into your conference there as well? Because this is what it's all about, is it's about networking. And since you don't have, I don't do a conference that people that are looking for being found by their spouse, so they can be found by a spouse in their perfected place, not in a place that's broken.
That's right. That's right, because I'm telling you, my brokenness showed up in my
So
marriage.
you heard it, guys. It is. It's seriously, those broken pieces will show up. And then,
Yeah.
I always tell people they end up like shards of glass. You're cutting all the way around instead of removing those things. You then become a cutter towards your spouse, and that's not fair to them. So definitely. I thank you so much, Taffany. You're awesome.
Thank
And
you.
again, leave the link to that in the group so that people can get to you and they can be a part of that conference as it comes available to them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jazzy.
You're welcome. Thank you. Awesome, guys. Oh my gosh, that was great. I tell you, you guys, this is what this is about. This is about, just getting into this place that when we go into 2021, that we're just doing the best that we can for ourselves, that we are giving ourselves, like she said, permission to move forward, to not have these past transgressions and these past feelings of anxiety inhibiting us from going forward. And, I wasn't going to do this, and I hope that my admin does not get mad at me. Don't get mad at me, Erica, because I love you. But I know I thought about this, and I was going back and forth with it, and I've decided I just want to move forward with you guys. And the only way that I can think to do this is, since Taffany has this conference going, I think for the month of January, I'm going to do the month of January. That's what we're going to do. We are going to move forward. And if you want to move forward with me into this movement, and you want to set your purpose in alignment, and you want to move forward in places in your life that you feel that you just need to work out right now, what we're going to do is we're going to meet up on a Zoom call for 4 weeks in January. We're going to do it once a week, but you're going to be in this private group. So you're going to be able to get affirmations. You're going to be able to get quotes like you've seen that I did in this group currently. You're going to be a part of my private group, and you're going to be able to meet with me, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this so that way that as we talk you through some of these things that you have, these life changes that you have going on, some of your visions, some of your ideas, some of your stagnant places of that you just feel that you're not moving forward in the fashion that you need to, and you need just a little bit motivation, or you might just need a sounding board. We're going to meet. And if you want to be a part of that group for 4 weeks, meeting once a week with me and getting affirmations and quotes every day, I am going to do that for you. And Erica, don't get mad at me, love, because I love you, but I want to do it because I just feel the need to do it. I'm going to do that for you guys. If you sign up today, I will do that for you guys for the price of $597. $597. Now, if you go on my Jazzy Crazy Faith Stokes page, you will see that an hour of time with me is $200. You guys will see that because I do this out of love. And my thing is that I don't want people to ever feel like they are not going to be able to have what they need. But that's right. I'm doing this for you today, just today. So that means if you don't watch this video, if you don't hear it, if you decide to skip over it, you're going to miss out on the blessing. And you know what else I'm going to do? Those people that may not have $597 today, that's what I'm saying today, you got to listen. I'm going to allow you to make payments to me. That's right, because this is the way God is sending me. He's telling me to do this. He's telling me to get with you guys for the next 30 days. He's telling me to allow you to make payments, and he's telling me to do it so that way we can start the process come January 1. That's right. So that means you take that $597, and I will allow you to break it up into 3 payments. Okay. Look, let me get I got to get my calculator out. I'm telling you, I'm not good with math. I wish Daphne said she was good with math. I look, I'm not a numbers crunchers kind of girl. I try to leave that to Erica and let her do that for me. So I'm telling you right now, I just feel moved to do this because I think that with us going forward, I think we're going to go forward in the right direction. And if you don't get on this today, that means that tomorrow the price is going to go what? Up, up, up. So I'm telling you right now, I have to do this. I will give you 3 months. That's $199. If you divide by 3, that's $199. So if you want to come on this journey with me for the next 30 days in January, and we start off 2021 with what I call the love factor. See, I need to even know this because 2021 is going to be called the love factor. It's going to be called the love factor because we're going to be doing a lot of things about love. And it's going to start with loving on yourself. And see, then she's talking about going into February about loving so you can be prepared for your next spouse and you can be perfected. So, hey, this is what I'm doing today. So if you want to come join me, then you go ahead and inbox me. You let me know and I will send you the link and I will send you the invoice and we will do this. And that means today you have that opportunity. I love you guys so much. And I thank Taffany Nolan Williams for being a part of this today because it's just been awesome. And I just want to be a blessing to somebody because I feel that somebody out there is listening and somebody wants to have a blessing. And so if you're ready to manifest your blessings into reality, let's do it together. I love you guys. Bye.